The afternoon Florida sun was beating down on the residential neighborhood in the Miami suburbs. Emily Hamilton gazed out the kitchen window, watching her 7-year-old son Noah playing in the yard. When she heard his innocent laughter, warmth spread through her chest. However, that warmth vanished with the sound of her mother Margaret's footsteps. "Emily, are you daydreaming by the window again?" Margaret's voice carried its usual cold tone. She was known in the community as an elegant woman who worked with local charities, but she showed a completely different, harsh side when it came to her daughter. Mrs. Johnson next door was asking about Noah again. "How long are you going to keep being vague about that boy's father?" Emily answered without turning around. "Mother, Noah is my son. I don't need to explain anything more than that." Emily had conceived Noah with a boyfriend from her college days, but he had refused to take responsibility and disappeared. Since returning to her parents' home as an unwed mother, she had been working part-time as a medical receptionist at a nearby clinic while raising her son. It wasn't an easy life by any means, but the time spent with Noah was a treasure beyond anything else. "Do you realize how much damage you've done to this family's reputation?" Margaret lowered her voice. "At the church ladies group, I'm always made to feel ashamed." The sound of the front door opening announced Robert's homecoming. He was a serious man who had worked at the local insurance company for many years, but at home he often went along with whatever his wife said. His attitude toward Emily was usually determined by reading Margaret's mood. "Welcome home, Dad," Emily smiled at him. Robert gave an ambiguous wave back, but his expression hardened as he felt Margaret's gaze. "I'm tired today. When will dinner be ready?" "Soon. Jessica and David are coming too, so please wait a little longer," Margaret answered her husband gently. It was a warmth she never showed to her daughter Emily. Before long, Emily's sister Jessica and her husband David arrived. Jessica was in her 3rd year of marriage to David, who worked at the local bank, and she was the model daughter who carried all of their parents' expectations. Deep down, she was ashamed that Emily had become an unwed mother. "Emily, how are you?" Jessica's greeting was superficial, and she immediately looked toward Noah. "Hello, Noah." Noah innocently ran over and hugged his aunt. "Aunt Jessica, I found a frog at school today." Jessica hastily pulled away. "Oh, really? Maybe you should wash your hands." David greeted them politely but clearly kept his distance from Noah. As a banker building his career, his nephew's existence could potentially affect his social image. At dinner, the family conversation centered around Jessica and her husband, as usual. Margaret proudly talked about her daughter's work success, and Robert eagerly asked about his son-in-law's promotion prospects. Emily and Noah sat at the edge of the table, treated like unwelcome guests. "By the way," Jessica brought up a topic, "next month, we're having a barbecue party with David's colleagues. But at that time." She glanced at Noah. "We'd prefer to keep it just family time." Emily put down her chopsticks. "So you're saying we shouldn't come?" "That's not what I mean," Jessica hurriedly made excuses. "It's just that David's colleagues." "I understand," Emily answered quietly. "Noah, let's go back to your room." Noah looked up at his mother with a confused expression. "Mama, did I do something wrong?" "No, you didn't do anything wrong," Emily gently stroked her son's head. As the two were about to leave the table, Margaret spoke up. "Emily, you need to accept reality soon. For Noah's sake too, you should consider a more stable environment." Emily turned around. "What do you mean?" "There's the option of an institution. You have your limits doing this alone." Those words froze Emily's heart. Jessica and David looked down awkwardly, and Robert said nothing. "Noah is my son. I won't give him to anyone," Emily's voice trembled. "Don't get emotional. Think realistically," Margaret said coldly. Emily took her son's hand and left the room. In the hallway, Noah asked in a small voice. "Mama, are we somewhere bad?" "No, Noah. You're the most precious treasure in the world," Emily hugged her son. That night, Emily gazed at her sleeping son's face, thinking. As long as they stayed in this house, Noah would continue to be treated as something shameful. Her son had the right to grow up in a more loving environment. But she didn't know where they could go. About a week later, Margaret suddenly proposed a family trip. She appeared in the living room where Emily, Noah, and Robert were watching the evening news, her expression brighter than usual. "I have wonderful news for everyone," Margaret spread out a brochure she was holding. "Let's go on a family trip to Ocean Paradise, a luxury resort in the Florida Keys. Jessica and David will come too." Noah's face lit up. "Really? Can we go to the ocean?" "Yes, Noah. There's a beautiful beach, and you'll surely enjoy it," Margaret spoke to her grandson in an unusually gentle voice. Emily was surprised. It was unusual for her mother to be so proactive about bringing the family together. "Mother, are you sure this is okay? It must cost quite a bit." "Don't worry. We're getting older too, and creating memories with the whole family is important." Margaret's smile was perfect. "We're planning a 3-night, 4-day trip, leaving next Friday." Robert was unusually enthusiastic too. "Good idea, Margaret. Let's treat Emily and Noah to some luxury for once." The next day, Jessica called. "Hey, did you hear about the trip? I'm really excited. But honestly, I'm wondering why Mom suddenly suggested a family trip." "I was thinking the same thing," Emily gripped the phone receiver. "But Noah is so happy. If we can all spend time together as a family for once, that's fine with me." On departure day, Emily carefully studied the travel brochure at the airport. Ocean Paradise was indeed a luxurious resort. Private beach, 5-star restaurants, spa facilities. Being able to stay at such a place seemed like a dream. Even on the flight, there were subtle differences in how the family was treated. Margaret and Robert, Jessica and David had taken business class seats next to each other, but Emily and Noah were alone in the back of economy class. "Mama, why are we the only ones in a different place?" Noah asked quietly. "It's okay, Noah. The clouds look beautiful from here too, don't they?" Emily squeezed her son's hand. When they arrived in the Keys, Ocean Paradise's luxury exceeded expectations. White buildings surrounded by palm trees, emerald green ocean, and elegant guests coming and going. However, even during check-in, the difference in family treatment was obvious. "The Hamilton family, we've been expecting you," the front desk staff smiled. "We have 3 suites prepared for you. Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, and..." He looked at Emily and hesitated for a moment. "Emily and the child will be in a family room in the separate building." The separate building was certainly comfortable, but it was located away from the main building, giving the impression of being isolated. Still, Noah was delighted and immediately pointed to the ocean visible from the window. "Mama, look. There are fish swimming." The first evening's dinner was reserved at the resort's main restaurant. However, when they arrived, the family table was set for 6 people. "Oh, this is a bit cramped," Margaret called to the manager. "Don't you have a slightly larger table?" "I'm sorry. We're fully booked tonight," the manager looked confused. "Then maybe Emily and Noah could sit at a separate table," Jessica suggested. "That way we can talk more comfortably." Eventually, Emily and Noah were shown to a table for 2 some distance away. While the other family members chatted enjoyably, the 2 ate their meal quietly. "Mama, why can't we eat with everyone?" Noah's question was natural. "Sometimes it's nice to have time just for the 2 of us, isn't it?" Emily answered brightly, but complex emotions swirled in her heart. The next day's pool activities were similar. While the family enjoyed cocktails in the premium area by the poolside, Emily and Noah spent time in the general area. Noah was swimming energetically, but Emily was beginning to feel increasingly uncomfortable. "Emily, come over here," Jessica waved. However, when she approached, David's colleague couple had come to the premium area. "Let me introduce you. This is my sister Emily and my nephew Noah." Jessica's voice was bright but somehow tense. "What a lovely child," the colleague's wife smiled. "Is your husband at work?" An awkward silence fell. Jessica tried to change the subject in a panic, but Emily answered quietly. I'm a single mother. That night, Emily accidentally overheard a conversation between Jessica and David. On her way back to the separate building, she was passing through the main building's hallway. Honestly, having Noah around makes our image look bad, Jessica's voice could be heard. David's colleagues were being considerate today, weren't they? I understand. But he's family, David's voice was confused. Even if he's family, because of Emily's choices, we're looked at strangely too, Jessica's true feelings were revealed. Mom is really troubled too. The neighbors' stares and all. Emily stood frozen. Were these the family's true feelings? Maybe this trip was also a means to isolate them. On the final morning, Margaret made a new proposal. Today let's join a private island tour. There's supposed to be a very beautiful uninhabited island. We'll go back and forth by boat and have a picnic on the island. What a wonderful idea, Mom, Jessica agreed. Perfect for making final memories. Noah was extremely excited. An uninhabited island? Really no one there? That's right, Noah. I'm sure you can even go treasure hunting. Margaret unusually made eye contact with her grandson and smiled. Emily felt something nagging at her, but seeing her son's delighted face, she pushed down that uneasiness. In the afternoon, the group boarded a private tour boat at the harbor. On the boat moving through the beautiful turquoise blue sea, the entire family was in the same space for the first time in a while. Emily, that's the island, Margaret pointed ahead where a small green island could be seen. It's called Paradise Island. Lovely, isn't it? Paradise Island lived up to its name in beauty. A pure white sandy beach curved like a crescent moon, and the crystal-clear seawater sparkled as it caught the sunlight. Palm trees created pleasant shade, and the sea breeze gently caressed their cheeks. Wow, amazing! Noah exclaimed the moment his feet touched the sandy beach. Mama, look. The water is so clear. Emily was also moved by her son's excitement. No matter how complicated the family relationships were, she decided to purely enjoy the beautiful scenery just for this moment. It really is beautiful, Noah. Like a postcard. The family members who got off the boat scattered to their respective preferred spots. Margaret and Robert took a rest on a bench in the shade, while Jessica and David became absorbed in taking photographs. Emily, Noah, don't go too far, Margaret called out. The boat will come to pick us up in an hour. I understand, Mother, Emily waved back. The mother and son began walking hand in hand along the sandy beach. Noah was enthusiastically collecting seashells. In his small palms, pink conch shells, pearl-like white bivalves, and shells that shimmered rainbow colors in the sunlight accumulated one after another. Mama, I'll give this shell to Grandma. Noah carefully held a particularly beautiful pink shell. She'll be happy, won't she? Emily's chest tightened. Why wasn't this innocent kindness accepted by the family? Yes, Noah. Grandma will surely be delighted. And this one for Aunt Jessica. Noah picked up a small spiral shell. This big one for Uncle David. For Grandpa. Noah was seriously selecting shells for each family member. Watching him, Emily was once again moved by her son's pure heart. No matter how coldly he was treated, Noah continued to love his family. Let's look together, Mama. Emily knelt down to get on the same eye level as her son. The two walked side by side along the beach, collecting shells like treasure hunting. Occasionally, when they spotted a crab hurriedly escaping into a hole, Noah would laugh happily. Emily felt pure happiness for the first time in a long while. Mama, this ocean is like heaven, Noah said, turning around. Yes. Just like paradise, Emily smiled. At that moment, she heard a mechanical sound in the distance. At first she thought it was the cry of a seabird. However, the sound gradually grew louder, and she realized it was clearly a boat engine. Emily stood up and looked in the direction of the sound. Huh? It hasn't been an hour yet, has it? Noah also noticed the sound and turned around. Mama, I hear a boat. Emily checked her watch. Only 40 minutes had passed since they arrived on the island. Maybe it was some mistake, she thought, as she looked toward the direction of the sound. And then, she witnessed an unbelievable sight. She could see the boat with her family on it moving away from the island. Margaret, Robert, Jessica, David. All four were on the boat, sitting with their backs turned toward her. "Wait!" Emily reflexively shouted. "Where are you going?" She grabbed her son's hand and ran across the sandy beach. But the boat was getting farther and farther away. "Wait! Wait!" Emily continued waving toward the ocean. "Don't leave us behind." At that moment, the boat slowly turned around. It came back close enough that she could see the family's faces. Emily breathed a sigh of relief. It must have been some kind of mistake. However, when Margaret slowly stood up and faced them, Emily's blood froze. On her mother's face was a cold smile unlike any she had ever seen. "Emily," Margaret's voice carried on the sea breeze. "This place is perfect for you too." "What are you saying?" Emily was confused. "You're joking, right?" "This is no joke," Margaret's voice was cold as ice. "We're going to paradise. To real paradise." Jessica also stood up. "I'm sorry. But this is for the best. For everyone." "What are you saying?" "Jessica." Emily screamed desperately. "Noah is here too." "That's exactly why," Jessica's voice was shaking, but her resolve seemed firm. "We want Noah to start a new life here." David remained facing away, saying nothing. Robert was the same. As if they didn't want to be involved in this decision. "Stop. Please." Emily took a step toward the ocean. "Noah hasn't done anything wrong." Noah, unable to fully understand the situation, tugged at Emily's clothes. "Mama, where is everyone going? Let's go together too." That innocent voice tore at Emily's heart. "This island isn't uninhabited," Margaret threw her final words. "I'm sure someone will help you. Until then, enjoy your mother-son time together." "Mother." Emily tried to enter the ocean. But swimming to catch up with the boat in her clothes would be impossible. The boat turned around again and this time truly moved away from the island. The family figures became smaller and smaller, eventually disappearing beyond the horizon. Emily collapsed to her knees. She sat down on the sand, staring at the empty-seeming ocean. She couldn't accept reality. "Mama, why are you crying?" Noah looked into his mother's face with concern. "Everyone will come back soon, won't they?" Emily hugged her son. She could feel Noah's small body trembling. Not from fear, but from confusion. "It's okay, Noah," Emily said as if convincing herself. "It'll be okay." But inside, emotions close to despair were swirling. She had been completely abandoned by her family. And with her innocent son too. "Mama, I'm hungry," Noah said in a small voice. Reality came rushing back all at once. No water, no food. How could they possibly survive on this island? Emily stood up and looked around the interior of the island. "Noah, let's explore the island together," Emily created a bright voice. "I'm sure we'll find something interesting." To protect her son, she had to be strong. There was no time for despair. Emily held her son's hand while heading toward the island's interior. She tried to suppress her heart that was about to panic and maintain composure. She couldn't make Noah anxious. "Mama, is there really no one on this island?" Noah asked, looking up through the trees. "I don't know. But let's find out together," Emily smiled at her son. In her heart, fear swirled about what they would do if it really was an uninhabited island. As they proceeded along the path covered with palm trees and mangroves, they eventually came to an open area. There, the two gasped. Before their eyes spread a scene completely different from what they had imagined. A magnificent white mansion stood in a beautifully maintained garden. The two-story colonial-style house was as elegant as if it had jumped out of a magazine, and colorful flowers bloomed all around. "Mama, there's a house," Noah pointed. "Does someone live there?" Emily felt relief and confusion simultaneously. If someone lived there, they might be able to ask for help. But how should she explain the situation to strangers? "Hello," a calm male voice was heard. When they turned around, a white-haired gentleman appeared from the back of the garden. He appeared to be in his mid-70s, wearing gardening gloves and looking at the two with a friendly expression. "Excuse me," Emily hurriedly bowed her head. "We are. Are you today's visitors?" The man smiled gently. "I'm George Winston. I'm a resident of this island." "Visitors?" Emily was confused. "No, we came with family, but the boat." At that moment, a woman appeared from the mansion's entrance. She appeared to be the same age as George, wearing an apron and holding a plate of cookies. "Oh, guests," the woman smiled warmly. "I'm Helen Winston, George's wife. Please, come inside." "But we..." Emily hesitated. "Don't be shy," Helen said gently. "You have a small child with you, so let's rest first. I'll bring you something to drink." Noah was already drawn by the smell of cookies and walking toward Helen. "I'm Noah. I'm 7 years old." "My, Noah. What a lovely name." Helen knelt down to meet Noah's eye level. "You must be hungry?" The interior of the mansion was even more beautifully arranged than its exterior. Antique furniture was tastefully placed, and seascape paintings hung on the walls. Large windows offered views of the garden and ocean, creating a scene like a painting. "So, please tell us what happened," George asked while making coffee. Emily hesitated. However, seeing Helen's warm gaze and Noah eating cookies with relief, she decided to speak honestly. About the family trip, the private island tour, and being left behind by her family. When she finished telling everything, George and Helen looked serious. "That's terrible," Helen sighed softly. "As a mother, it must be so painful for you." "What should we do?" Emily asked, holding back tears. Thinking about Noah. George and Helen exchanged glances. Then Helen slowly began to speak. "Emily, we actually have similar experiences." "Similar?" "It was 50 years ago," Helen looked distant. "I was also an unwed mother. When I became pregnant at 18, I was disowned by my family." Emily was surprised. This elegant woman had experienced something similar to her own situation. "Those days were much stricter than now," Helen continued. "My family treated me as a shame and eventually threw me out of the house. With nowhere to go, I wandered the streets with my unborn child. And that's when I met her." George took over the story. "I was in a similar situation. When I was young, my family opposed my marriage, so I eloped with my lover, but she died of illness. When I was all alone, I met Helen, who was at her wit's end." "But what about your child?" Emily was curious to ask. Helen's expression clouded. "Unfortunately, the baby died shortly after birth. Since then, George and I have walked through life together. This island is actually owned by us," George explained. "We started with a small lodging facility and now operate multiple hotel chains." "But why on the island?" "For us, abandoned by our families, this was the starting point of a new life," Helen smiled. "And now it's also a refuge for people in trouble." "A refuge?" "Several times a year, people in situations like yours drift to this island," George explained. "It's not by chance. We intentionally arrange for it to happen." Emily couldn't understand. "So our tour too?" "Probably someone contacted us about your situation," Helen answered. "Our network is extensive. When we hear about mothers and children in trouble, we arrange to guide them to a safe place like this." "But why?" "We don't have children," George's voice was gentle. "But we have lots of love. We want to share it with people who need it." Noah came over to Emily looking sleepy. He was exhausted from the long day. "Noah, you must be tired," Helen stood up. "I'll prepare a lovely room for you. But we don't have money or anything." "Don't worry about money," George waved his hand. "First, rest well, and then we'll think about what to do next." The room they were shown to was as luxurious as a hotel suite. A large bed, ocean view window, and even toys for children were prepared. "Mama, this is like heaven," Noah jumped onto the bed. Emily looked out at the ocean from the window. The same ocean where her family had abandoned her a few hours ago now looked completely different. Not an ocean of despair, but an ocean of hope. It might really be heaven, Noah. Emily hugged her son. That night, after Noah fell asleep, Emily went out to the terrace alone. The starry sky was beautiful, and the sound of waves calmed her heart. Helen appeared with warm cocoa. "Can't sleep?" "Yes. It still doesn't feel real," Emily answered honestly. "We have a request for you." Helen became serious. "If you would like, we'd like to welcome you and Noah as our family." Emily turned around in surprise. "We'd like to formally adopt you and give Noah the best education. And we'd like you to help with our business." "But that's..." "Please think about it," Helen said gently. "There are things more important than blood relations. That's love and understanding. We want to love and support you both from our hearts." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. This time they weren't tears of despair, but tears of hope. 1 year later, Emily was enjoying her morning coffee on the mansion's terrace. In the garden, Noah was harvesting vegetables with George. Her son's laughter carried on the wind. In this past year, Noah had grown remarkably bright. "Good morning, Emily," Helen appeared with a newspaper. "Mail from Florida has arrived." Emily received the letter. Seeing the sender's name, she felt complicated emotions. It was from Jessica. Opening the letter, she read the contents written in shaky handwriting. David's affair had been discovered, and they were in divorce proceedings. Margaret, unable to bear the neighborhood gossip, had moved to another state with Robert. And that luxury resort trip had actually been a cheap tour package, and they had borrowed money to keep up appearances. "Sister, please. Let me see Noah. We were wrong. Please forgive us." That's what was written at the end of the letter. "Bad news?" Helen asked with concern. "No, rather expected news," Emily smiled. "But it doesn't concern us anymore." In this past year, Emily had changed greatly. As George and Helen's business partner, she had become the director of a program supporting troubled families. Her experience had become a valuable asset in helping people in similar situations. Noah attended a prestigious private school while also receiving top-level education online. He could speak 3 languages and had improved at piano. Most importantly, he was growing up surrounded by love every day. "Mama, look," Noah ran over. He was carrying freshly picked tomatoes. "Grandpa George said he'll make special pasta with these tomatoes." "That's wonderful, Noah," Emily hugged her son. Noah now called George and Helen a grandpa and a grandma. The formal adoption was complete, and legally they had become family. And most importantly, they had built a relationship where they truly felt like family. "Emily, are you ready for today's support meeting?" George called from the garden. "Yes. 3 mother-child pairs are scheduled to come to the island this week," Emily answered. This island now functioned as a secret refuge for mothers and children in trouble. Emily used her own experience to support women in similar situations. They were given choices: start a new life on the island, or receive support to become independent on the mainland. In the afternoon, Emily was doing volunteer work at the island's school. Children who had come to the island for various reasons were studying here. All were surrounded by loving adults, growing while healing from past wounds. Teacher Emily, a little girl, ran over. "Will my mama come to get me someday?" Emily knelt down to meet the girl's eye level. "Your mama is looking for the best environment for you right now. But remember this. All of us here are your family." The girl smiled with relief. At dinner time, 4 people sat at the Winston family dining table. Surrounding George's homemade tomato pasta, they talked about what happened today. This was the family time Emily had been seeking for so long. "Noah, how's practice for next month's piano recital?" Helen asked. "It's perfect now, Grandma," Noah answered proudly. "I'm excited for everyone to hear it." We're looking forward to it too, Emily stroked her son's head. After dinner, the family went on their customary walk. On the same sandy beach where she had walked in despair that day, she was now walking filled with hope. Noah was still collecting shells, but this time they were presents for Grandpa and Grandma. Emily, Helen spoke peacefully, meeting you completed our lives. Mine too, Emily answered. True family isn't about blood relations, but about relationships where we respect and love each other. George pointed into the distance. I can see a new boat over there. I'm sure someone seeking love is on it again. Then let's go meet them, Emily smiled. As the sunset painted the ocean gold, the 4 members of the Winston family walked hand in hand along the sandy beach. Bound together by true family bonds that transcended blood relations. And around them were many people who had similarly found love. Paradise Island had truly become paradise. A paradise of real families filled with love and understanding.